Hey guys, what's up? It's Seth with InDemandCareer.com and SkipCollegeForSuccess.com. And in this video, I want to respond to a comment I got from a student where he said, my parents are making me go to college. And I get this comment and this kind of email a lot from people where they say, my parents are making me do this, somebody's making me do that. And I really want to empower you by freeing you from this complete misperception. And the misperception is that somebody can make you do anything, okay? As long as you're over 18 years of age, and even if you're under 18, this is still true, nobody can make you do anything. You're not a toddler. You're not an infant. When you're an infant and when you're like 3 or 4, yes, your parents can make you go here, make you eat this, make you do, you're basically a slave when you're a little kid because you're just growing and you have no power and you can't even talk many times or wipe your own butt. But when you're 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, you are an adult. You cannot be made or forced to do anything. Unless somebody going to physically make you go to college, is somebody physically going to pick you up and like put you in the classroom and sign your name to a bunch of loan documents? No, that's not how it works. What actually happens is you're dealing with emotional manipulation. And this is just the natural outgrowth of the parent-child relationship. You were completely helpless when you were younger and you needed your parents to take care of you and do everything for you. And the problem is, since most of us do not evolve emotionally or mentally, and this is the society's, this is why the school system keeps people in such an infantile state. You haven't grown to a point where you have an independent sense of yourself. So by the time you're 18 or 19, most of us still have a very juvenile view of the world, and we feel as if we can be made to do things, and we fear the disapproval of our family. So the first thing you can do is get comfortable and embrace being disapproved of by your family or your peers. This is the most power you can have in life, guys. The ability to not give a fuck what people around you think, because if you have any kind of objective viewpoint, you can see that most of the time, if you're suffering like this, it's because you know that what you're being forced to do, quote unquote, is not good for you. So objectively, the best thing you could do for everybody is to do what's best for you and not go to college or do what, follow the path of your own choosing. But because you're in this emotionally codependent parent-child relationship, you have this, it feels like really scary. Oh, I can't disobey my parents. The other thing parents do, and this can happen in other relationships too, is they will keep you as a hostage, a financial or emotional hostage to their desires for you. And the most common way this happens is because you're living at their house and you're told something like, well, if you don't go to college, we're kicking you out of the house. Now, in reality, that is probably one of the best things you could hear because you need to get out of your parents' house. The best thing you can do for yourself when you're 18, 19, 20 is get the fuck out of your parents' house. Be an adult. I moved back in with my parents when I was in my 20s. It was a bad decision on my part. It is very difficult to grow and have an independent life when you're in your parents' actual house and they're paying for your shelter. So by the same token, I don't think it's fair that parents would now, after 18 years of you being under their roof and basically being treated like a child, where you're not being taught about money or how to support yourself or how to pay rent or anything from the adult world, you've just been, told to focus on getting good grades and whatnot. Suddenly, for them to turn around and say, well, if you don't go to college, I'm kicking you out, is really unfair and it's shitty, because they should at least be like, okay, well, get a job, or we'll help you make that transition. We'll teach you how to support yourself. So, then if that is the case, then it really is on you. And this is actually a good thing, guys. Independence and being self-reliant is such a gift. And it doesn't always seem that way. So if you're having arguments with your family or you're in this situation, don't become a child about it and say, oh, my parents are making me do this, making me do that. Accept, like an adult, the situation. So my parents have this desire for me or that desire for me. I have a choice. I can listen to them or not. And if I don't listen to them, these are the consequences. And I accept with those consequences no matter what they are. So if it means me getting kicked out of the house, I'm cool with that. If it means that my parents will disapprove of me, what are they going to do? I've heard people say, oh, my parents are going to disown me. They're not going to disown you, guys. Let me tell you something. If your parent is going to disown you, which is like legally say, by the way, that's an expression, disown you. They're not going to go to court and like file papers to have you kicked out of the family. But let's say a parent actually did that. What a terrible fucking person. You're gonna kick your kid out of the family because they didn't get an English degree? This is you wouldn't, if you're in that situation, guys. It may be painful because, again, you're growing. You have to basically grow the fuck up. You have to grow out of this infantile state into an adult state. And you could look at your parents very maturely and very calmly and say, listen, guys, this doesn't work for me. And I'm not going to be pressured or held hostage to your desires or give in to the threat of being kicked out of the family. I'm not going to give in to that and, ruin my life with loans or, spend 4 years doing this shit that I don't believe in, that I know is a waste of time, just to make you happy. At that point, a lot of parents actually, ironically, are acting like children themselves. They're not being mature. They're not sitting you down and saying, okay, let's have a conversation about how this should go forward. And like I say in my book, Skip College for Success, this puts you in an awkward situation because now you have to act more mature than your parents. But the first thing I would say is, guys, get a job and take a training like my digital marketing course so you can get skills that you can leverage into making more money on your own terms. At the very least, you can get a part-time job, get a full-time job, Uber, do something to bring in some income and get your own place. So important. Even if you have to get roommates, that's kind of the culture these days. I always had roommates when I was younger. Get a roommate if you have to. If you're not going to live for your own place, just get out of your parents' house. You are enabling this delusion that you're still a baby if you're staying at home and you're being subjected to this kind of pressure. And I know a lot of my students are still at home, and for them it's actually, I say it's kind of like good and bad. I mean, they're saving a lot of money on rent and they're still working jobs, making money. But I'll tell you this, guys, when I moved back home, it was the worst decision I ever made. I would have been better off staying where I was living in California or somehow getting my own apartment. Whatever it took, if I could go back in time and talk to myself, I'd say, listen, man, I don't care how hard you have to work. You've got to get your own place again. Because I had my own place and then I moved in with my parents because it saved me money and it felt very comfortable. But you pay for that with all of it's mental, emotional, psychological, payments you're making for the payoff of being at home. And because you're not moving forward in life, no matter how much your parents love you, and I'm sure they do love you, it is very hard to be an independent adult in that environment unless you have awesome and amazing parents, which a lot of my students do. And in that case, it's okay to stay home. But I'm responding to the comments I get from people who have parents who are trying to pressure them and force them to make life decisions that are not in their best interest. So think about it. And here's the other thing I want to end this with is say, you can do it, guys. You have spent 18 years, most of us have, 16 years, learning about nonsense in school. So the simple act, this was like for me, of getting a job and paying for rent, to me was so difficult as a 20-something. Not because I was an idiot, but because I'd never, ever done it. So it's your first time, so take it easy on yourself and be okay. It's okay if you feel nervous or afraid to go out on your own or to disobey your parents. But that's what growing up is. You're not going to be happy in 10 years if you just do everything your parents say, unless that's what you, like, I'm responding to these comments from people who are obviously having trouble. If you're just one of those people that just does whatever your parents want to do and you're a good boy, a good girl, and you're happy with that, go for it. But when you're evolving as your own person, that's not the experience. So it's okay to grow up, be independent, have your own thoughts, and go your own way. And if it's rough for a while, if you ruffle some feathers, that's good. You will be very happy in the future when you look back on that decision. Because as I began this with, nobody can make you do anything unless you commit a crime and the police throw you in prison. There is no physical force making you go to college. Nobody is going to pick you up, throw you in a classroom, and force you to sign your name to a document. It's all mental, emotional belief systems that need to be confronted. And you can be free and pursue the life that you want and that is good for you, and not what your parents or the culture or your teachers or anyone else says. So I hope that was helpful. Feel free to leave me a comment or question below. And if you haven't already gotten digital marketing skills, go click the link below for indemandcareer.com for the free mini course introducing you to that career, or check out my book, Skip College for Success. And thanks for hanging out with me for a minute, and I will see you in the next video.